Story 1 by Hami G. Every evening, I take the same path home from the nearby city of Dalton. It's about a 25-minute drive back to my quiet neighborhood on the outskirts, where the city lights fade into rural countryside. The road is peaceful at night, a big contrast to the congestion during the day. This particular evening, it was a little past 11 p.m. I was listening to my favorite playlist, Almost Home, when I saw headlights ahead. At first, it looked normal, but as the car got closer, the lights were blindingly bright, like high beams aimed directly at me. I squinted and tried to keep to my lane, thinking they'd soon pass. But suddenly, I realized the car was heading straight for me, on my side of the road. Reflexes kicked in, and I swerved right, veering off the road and slamming into a small ravine that bordered a field. I sat there for a few seconds, stunned, but thankful I seemed uninjured. I climbed out to check my car, which was a mess. The front was crumpled badly. I looked down the road, half expecting the other driver to be long gone, but to my surprise, their car had stopped not too far away. I thought about approaching them, but decided to call the police first, given the isolated location. I dialed 911, and the dispatcher said officers would be there within minutes. While I waited, I climbed back up to the road, and that's when I saw a man standing there, just staring down at me without a word. "Did you cause this? You almost killed me," I shouted, barely containing my anger. He still didn't respond, and then I noticed his car's lights getting brighter, as if someone else had gotten into the driver's seat and was bringing the vehicle closer. Within seconds, a second man got out. They spoke to each other briefly in a language I didn't recognize, and one of them opened the trunk, glancing at me in a way that made my stomach turn. My instinct screamed at me to run. I turned and bolted into the field as fast as I could. They gave chase, but after a couple of minutes, I lost them in the thick brush. Hiding in the darkness, I waited until I heard sirens in the distance. Following the sound, I eventually found the road again, where police officers were examining my car. I told them everything, and they wrote up a report, but there wasn't much they could do beyond that. The men were long gone, leaving me wondering what their intentions really were that night. Story 2 by Lawrence W. I've never been good at driving long distances. I tend to get nervous and zone out after about half an hour. But work required me to make a 7-hour drive from the small town of Oakford all the way to Red Cliff for an urgent meeting. It was late, around 5 p.m., when I left, hoping to reach my hotel by midnight. The first few hours were uneventful, the scenery fading from small towns to empty fields. I was around the 4-hour mark when I realized I hadn't checked my fuel gauge in a while. To my horror, I was running dangerously low. Panicking a little, I kept an eye out for a gas station, but the road stretched on with no signs of life. Just as my car started sputtering, I spotted what looked like a parked vehicle with flashing lights up ahead. Thinking it was a police car, I pulled off the road nearby, hoping they'd have a spare canister of gas. But as I approached, I noticed it wasn't a regular police vehicle. It seemed like an old model, something that might have been retired. I knocked on the window, but found it empty. The inside was tidy, even had some snacks on the seat, as if someone had just been there. Then I saw a movement in the distance, a figure standing in the field, silhouetted by the fading light. For a moment, They froze, then turned and started walking toward me, fast. Not knowing what else to do, I darted back to my car, trying to call for help. My car was nearly out of gas, but I managed to start it just as the person reached the road, staring at me with a wild look in their eyes. I kept trying to call 911, but the signal kept dropping. When I finally got through, the man was gone, his car speeding away, without lights, down the dark road. When the officer finally arrived, he shrugged off my story, saying people sometimes get lost out there. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd narrowly avoided something terrible that night. Story 3 by Tim K. My name's Eric, and I'm a 24-year-old bartender at one of the only 24-hour joints in Portside. We're known for late-night bites and beer, though the owners insist on offering a delivery service even at night. It's usually quiet, so I'm the only one doing deliveries from midnight to sunrise. This night was like any other. Crowded bar, a few tables to wait on, and a couple of deliveries. Around 2 a.m., a single pizza order came in. The address was about 10 minutes away, and I figured it'd be a quick trip. I typed it into GPS and set off, glad for a break from the bar's noise. But when I arrived, I was nowhere near any houses. My GPS led me to the edge of a state park. I pulled over, thinking I must have the wrong location. But then my phone rang. "Hey, this is Eric with your pizza," I said, trying to keep the unease out of my voice. The person on the other end just breathed heavily for a moment before describing my car in detail and telling me to look across the street. My eyes scanned the darkness, and that's when I saw him, standing near the trees, waving slowly. I didn't understand why he wouldn't come to the road. It was just a few steps, and I'd be able to hand off the pizza and go. But he didn't move, only gestured for me to come over. I stepped out, taking a few hesitant steps, but something felt off. When I waved for him to come get the pizza instead, he just stood there, looking around like he was checking for witnesses. My instincts were screaming by then, and as he started toward me, I turned and bolted back to my car. When I looked back, I saw him stop, and 2 other men stepped out from behind the trees. I got in, locked the doors, and floored it out of there, driving straight to the nearest police station. The cops didn't find much. They couldn't track the number or verify the name. My boss gave me the rest of the night off, but I've never stopped wondering what would have happened if I hadn't trusted my gut and walked into that forest.